As the neon lights slowly fade and the restless city drifts into sleep, there are still a few wandering souls somewhere beneath the midnight sky, searching for warmth in unfamiliar places. Anthony Bourdain was one of those souls. He walked through crowded markets, quiet fishing villages, dimly lit alleyways, and kitchens filled with steam and noise, carrying with him a curiosity that never truly rested. To the world, he was a traveler, a chef, a storyteller. But beneath all of that, he was simply a man trying to understand how people survive loneliness, longing, and the passage of time through the comfort of food and human connection. Tonight, let the soft glow of the fire guide us gently into his world. Let the noise of the day fall away. And together, let us follow the footsteps of a man who spent his life searching for belonging across oceans, cultures, and countless dinner tables. Before the cameras and international fame, Anthony Bourdain was just another exhausted cook in the chaotic kitchens of New York City. The heat was relentless. The air smelled of butter, smoke, wine, and fatigue. Plates crashed against metal counters while cooks shouted over the roar of flames. Day after day, he moved through the same narrow corridors of pressure and repetition, feeling as though life was shrinking into a single cramped room. Yet even then, he noticed something others often ignored. In the middle of all that exhaustion, food still carried emotion. A simple bowl of soup could remind someone of childhood. A carefully prepared meal could repair silence between strangers. Late at night, after the restaurants closed and the city quieted down, he would sit among tired cooks sharing cheap drinks and stories, realizing that kitchens were not merely places where food was prepared. They were places where people revealed themselves honestly, stripped of masks and performance. When he finally began writing about the hidden reality of restaurant life, people listened because his words carried truth. He did not romanticize the struggle. He spoke openly about addiction, ambition, loneliness, and the strange brotherhood that existed behind kitchen doors. That honesty became the beginning of a new life. Slowly, the weary cook transformed into a traveler whose hunger was no longer limited to food. He wanted to understand people themselves. As he journeyed across the world, Anthony Bourdain avoided luxury whenever he could. He preferred plastic stools on crowded sidewalks over expensive dining halls. He sat beside fishermen drinking hot broth before sunrise. He shared meals with grandmothers whose recipes had survived generations of hardship. He wandered through places many travelers overlooked entirely, believing that the soul of a country could often be found not in monuments, but in the meals quietly shared by ordinary people. In Vietnam, he sat beneath hanging lanterns while scooters hummed through the night air and bowls of steaming noodles filled the streets with fragrance. In Japan, he admired the discipline and silence hidden inside careful craftsmanship. In small villages across South America, Africa, and the Middle East, he listened more than he spoke. He understood that food was never only about flavor. Every recipe carried memory. Every spice carried history. Every shared table carried the invisible weight of migration, war, celebration, survival, and love. What made Anthony Bourdain different was the way he treated people. He did not arrive as someone seeking to judge or conquer unfamiliar cultures. He arrived humbly, willing to sit down and listen. Whether he was eating with wealthy chefs or families living in poverty, he offered the same attention and respect. He understood that dignity often reveals itself most clearly around a table. Over time, however, the endless movement began to leave its mark on him. Airports blurred together. Hotel rooms became temporary shelters filled with silence. The farther he traveled, the harder it became to define where home truly was. Millions admired him, yet admiration can sometimes deepen loneliness instead of healing it. After the cameras stopped rolling and the crowds disappeared, he often returned to empty rooms where the quiet felt heavier than any noise. There were nights when even the most beautiful cities felt cold to him. He had seen too much of the world to believe in simple answers anymore. He had witnessed extraordinary kindness in places scarred by suffering, but he had also seen how fragile happiness could be. The more deeply he connected with humanity, the more intensely he seemed to feel its pain. And still, he kept traveling. Perhaps because movement itself became the only place where he felt truly alive. There was something deeply poetic about the way Anthony Bourdain moved through the world. He never pretended life was easy. He never promised that adventure alone could heal sadness. Instead, he offered something gentler and more honest. He reminded people that even in a fractured world, moments of connection are still possible. A shared meal between strangers. A laugh echoing through a crowded kitchen. The warmth of bread passed across a table. The quiet understanding that, despite different languages and histories, human beings are not as distant from one another as they often appear. As the years passed, a certain exhaustion began to settle behind his eyes. Those closest to him sometimes noticed it in the pauses between his words, in the way his smile occasionally carried an almost invisible sadness. He had spent so much of his life searching for meaning in distant places that perhaps he forgot how difficult it can be to offer that same compassion to oneself. Yet even now, long after his journey ended, his presence still lingers in the stories he left behind. It lingers in bustling street markets illuminated by soft evening light. It lingers in old cafes where strangers still gather to speak honestly for a little while. It lingers in kitchens where tired cooks continue working beneath the glow of midnight lamps. Most of all, it lingers in the comforting realization that food is never just food. It is memory. It is identity. It is love surviving in ordinary forms. Tonight, as the fire grows softer and the world outside becomes still, let Anthony Bourdain's story settle gently over your thoughts like distant music drifting through the dark. Let go of the pressure to have everything figured out. Let go of the endless noise of modern life. Like him, perhaps we are all travelers in some way, searching for places and people that make us feel less alone. And maybe peace is not found in finally arriving somewhere perfect. Maybe peace lives inside those fleeting moments of warmth we discover along the way. The night is deep now. The roads are quiet. Somewhere far beyond the sleeping cities, the world continues turning beneath the stars. Close your eyes and rest. Let every distant street, every glowing kitchen, every quiet human story carry you gently into sleep.